Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 1. I want to present about our topic, which is the purchasing habit of consumers and the financial vulnerability. Okay, we have 5 members, which is firstly Nakib Akmal, Rafiq Shukri, Salman Fakihi, Izul Hakimi, and lastly is me, Ikhwan Hazli. Okay, firstly we touch about the abstract. Okay. Consumers who make impulsive purchases are more likely to end up in a debt. This can make them more vulnerable to financial hardship. There are a number of factors that contribute to impulsive purchases, including emotional factors, cognitive factors, and marketing strategies. Consumers can protect themselves from financial hardship by creating a budget and avoiding impulse purchases. Businesses can also adopt marketing strategies that are less likely to lead to impulsive purchases. Okay, firstly we touch about the abstract. Okay. Consumers who make impulsive purchases are more likely to end up in a debt. This can make them more vulnerable to financial hardship. There are a number of factors that contribute to impulsive purchases, including emotional factors, cognitive factors, and marketing strategies. Consumers can protect themselves from financial hardship by creating a budget and avoiding impulse purchases. Businesses can also adopt marketing strategies that are less likely to lead to impulsive purchases. We had 2 problems that we had identified. Firstly, problem number 1, impulsive or unnecessary purchases can lead to debt, which can make consumers more vulnerable to financial hardship. Secondly, consumers can protect themselves from financial hardship by making informed purchasing decision and avoiding them. We go to the research objective. Firstly, we want to examine the impact of content marketing on consumers' purchases decision. Second, we want to investigate the role of influencers in shaping consumer purchasing behavior. Third, to explore the influence of social media on consumer purchase intention. And lastly, to identify the interaction effect between content marketing, influencers, and as well as social.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Nakib bin Nurul Akmal. My metric number 1200812. And now I will talk about a literature review for this study. First, we start with consumer spending behavior. Beyond the obvious negative effect of financial limits, our theory focus and emphasize on consumer resilience, emphasizing that people frequently find way to deal with and adapt to financial constraint. According to the research conducted by Sri Nur Hidayati in 2021, we discover that household financial vulnerability in Indonesia is significantly influenced by a variety of socio-economic factors, including behavioral traits related to money management and several objective and subjective measurement of the Household Financial Vulnerability Index, which is FBI. The second one is psychological factors. The study came to the conclusion that behavioral and psychological elements generally have a significant impact on financial decision making. The result shows that psychological and social elements have an impact on investors' financial decision-making process when it comes to investment and selecting a certain financial product. Financial confidence, psychological factors, and wealth economic factors all contribute to the detrimental impact of financial literacy on financial fragility, according to the author's finding. The next one is compulsive online shopping behavior. Online compulsive purchasing appears to be a separate behavioral problem with particular lack of control and motivational component, as well as overall time and money costs. These findings imply that tendency toward compulsive shopping may not be pathological, as is the case with many deviant behaviors, but rather are connected to attitude toward money in general, financial management behavior, and materialistic idea. The findings also reveal that materialism and financial social comparison act as mediating factors in the association between extensive online social networking and compulsive shopping. The next one is hypothesis. First is consumer spending behavior. The hypothesis is good spending behavior contribute to good spending patterns and avoid financial vulnerability. Second one is psychological factors. The hypothesis is great management of psychological factors positively influencing consumer spending pattern. The third one is compulsive online shopping behavior. The hypothesis is greater emphasis on online shopping behavior positively influence the consumer spending patterns.
So next I will present about the questionnaire design. So before that, I will introduce myself. My name is Ahmad Izal Hakimi bin Muhammad Syahari and my metric number is 1200824. So for our questionnaire design, there is various research design and we only use qualitative and quantitative research. Qualitative research is the questionnaire that in the survey that targeted the correspondence of the Malaysian people. Moreover, for quantitative research is involving numerical. It is shown as we prepared in the section B, which is the respondents should choose based on 5-point Likert scale. The respondent will read the statement and they choose the based on their opinion whether they agree or disagree. So next is for data selection method. For the data selection method, primarily there are two types of information gathered, which is main and secondary. The survey we ran in Malaysia yielded primary data or information collected directly from respondents. There are a total of 16 questions in the poll, so finishing the survey took no more than a few minutes for your time. In addition, this study also makes use of secondary data, which is essentially the inverse of primary data. It is information that was compiled from already available sources. Journal articles found online serve as the source material. A scant few papers address the relationship between consumers' spending habits and their financially precarity, and we use those to inform of our own research. It was the result of prior academic effort to address a similar issue. ResearchGate is also one of our several places where this article were compiled, and also research at libraries also includes perusing academic journals. And next is data analytics techniques. So as you can see in the slide, there are 6 components that we using for data analytics techniques, which is first one is frequency analysis, descriptive analysis, reliability analysis, convergence validity test, discriminant validity test, and analysis of multiple regression. So all of these items are really crucial for research as they allow researchers to derive meaningful insight and draw conclusions from collected data. By employing this item, researchers can identify patterns, relationships, and trends within the data, enabling them to answer research questions, test hypotheses, and make evidence-based conclusions. These techniques provide a systematic and rigorous framework for analyzing data, ensuring the reliability and validity of research findings, and contributing to the advancement of knowledge in various fields. So next, let's move on to our first result of the data, which is frequency analysis. For your information, we were able to collect a total of 261 respondents from various people in museums to answer our Google form. As you can see on the slide, we managed to prevent from having an invalid data from our respondents. So it is 100% usable, valid for our data. Alright, so as you can see on the slide, the table shows that the gender of the respondent in this research, most of the respondents are majority from the male with a percentage of more than 50%, which is 56.7%, which is in total of 148 respondents. Meanwhile, for the rest of the percentage is from female. And next is for ages. The table above display the age of the respondents in this research. Most of the respondents below 23 years, with a total of 190 out of 261 respondents, which is for 55.6%. while for the 24 to 39 age of group, 25.7%, which is in total of 67 respondents. Next is the 40 to 55 age of group with a total of 62 respondents, which is 23.8%. And the last but not least is the least age group is 56 to 74, which have a total of only 13 respondents and 5%. So next, I will talk about the ethnicity of the respondents. So the table shows that majority of the respondents are Malay, with a total of 238 out of 261, which is 96.3%. Meanwhile, Indian only have 6 respondents, and Chinese only have a total of 7 respondents, and the rest of the respondent is from other ethnic, which is create a total of 10 respondents. And let's move on to education part. So the table shows that majority of the respondents have education background of degree, with a total of 179 respondents out of 261 respondents, which is 68.6%. And the second highest education background is from SPN or certificate, which hold a total of 51 respondents or 19.5%. Meanwhile, the diploma level only have 20 respondents, and postgraduate level only have 11 respondents, which is the least education background from the respondent. So next, for the marital status, and the table above shows that the majority of the respondents are single with a total of 147 out of 261 respondents. Meanwhile, for married respondent, only 114 respondents, which is 43.7%. And for the last demographic, which is monthly income, so the table above shows that the monthly income of the respondent, the highest income level from the respondent are below 4,850, which hold a total of 197 respondents. And next, the second highest is 4,851 until 10,970, which have a total of 57 respondents, and the rest of the respondents have an income above 10,971.
Next, I will continue with descriptive analysis. Before that, my name is Muhammad Rafi Shukri Biramli. My metric number is 1200817. Table above shows the result on the mean and standard deviation for all of the items in each variable. Mean is the average of all the data number in the set, and standard deviation is a measure of how spread out the data is across the set. The data suggests that the financial vulnerability is seen as natural by most respondents. The moderate mean for the financial vulnerability construct every 1 until every 4 is 5.41 to 5.71, indicating that the most respondents somewhat disagree, different, or agree with statement like I have strength to maintain FV as my existing household, and financial vulnerability should be well managed as it may affect individual well-being. Next, the data also suggests that majority of respondents have neutral perception on consumer spending behavior. This is reflected in the moderate mean for the consumer spending behavior construct CSB1 until CSB4, with scores ranging from 5.14 to 5.66, indicating that most respondents somewhat disagree. Neutral and somewhat disagree with statements such as I carefully consider my affordability before spending. Aside from that, it shows that many of the people who answered had a neutral view of psychology issues. This is shown by the fact that the average score for the psychological factors F PF1 until PF4 is between 5.37 and 5.59, which means that most people somewhat disagree, are neutral, or somewhat in agreement with statements like I should know to control myself on admiring to purchase opulent furnishing, expensive vehicle, and expensive clothing, despite I afford to purchase it. Lastly, compulsive online shopping behavior COSB1 to COSB4 has a mean score than the other construct, with score ranging from 5.30 to 5.54, indicating that most respondents neutral or somewhat disagree with statements such as individuals should not buy things online that they don't need although the price is low, and no one should be able to influence me by something that is not benefiting my necessity. The table above is present the highest combat alpha by compulsive online shopping behavior with 0.72, as seen psychological factors with 4 items have the second highest of combat alpha financial vulnerability, and consumer spending behavior, also 4 items with Chromebook Alpha 0.65 and 0.672 respectively. Using the table above, you can use the weight of success and probability to make a valid pattern matrix. So it shows that only 10 of the 16 items in the table matrix are there, since the other items meet the different paths and how low values. So the things have been thrown out so that the analysis can be done again. Since the average loadings for COSB 0.709, FV 0.788, CSB 0.769, and PF 0.777 are all greater than 0.7, we can say that convergent validity exists. According to the data presented above, variance extracted is greater than correlation squared across the board. It has been determined that there is discriminant validity between COSB and FB. Uh, COSB is greater than FB, COSB is greater than CSB, COSB is greater than PF, FV is greater than CSB, FV is greater than PF, and CSB is greater than PF. The degree of the partial correlation, how the components explain each other between the variables, is analyzed using the KMO test. As a result of our research, we calculated a KMO of 0.844. Kaiser-Meyer-Olkin number of 0.844 shows that the sample size is good enough to do a factor analysis. The KMO statistic checks to see if the variables in the analysis are good for factor analysis. It does this by measuring how much of the differences between the variables can be explained by similar factor. At the same time, the identity hypothesis regarding the correlation metric is stated, but with the use of Butler test of superiority. From the result, the p-value of the Butler superiority test is 0.000, which is below the 0.05, indicate the items are significantly correlated. The table shows the result of anti-image matrices. The values range from 0.759 to 0.922, shows that the observed variables and their associated latent factors have a strong and positive relationship. In factor analysis, the anti-image matrix show how the relationship between the measured variable and the common factors are set up. In this result, there is a factor whose eigenvalues are greater than 1 as what have been set on SPSS. According to the result, 4 items suggested to return from 13 items where the total eigenvalues is 4.193, 1.355, and 1.068 and 0.984 respectively. Then stop at the next item is below the 0.984. This factor together explains 55.47% of the total, which means total variance is sufficient. In other words, the SPSS result suggested reducing 13 components to only 4 components. The results plot shows that the differences are decreasing when it hits the second component, which is barely above 1 eigenvalue, and that the line is gradually attempting to level off. The result shows that there seems to be a strong turn at the second extracted factor. This means that over time the line will become flatter and go down. So the scree test shows that only one factor should be kept. The other factors can either be kept or gotten rid of to keep a good study going. Based on the commonalities table, it can be seen that the extraction value of an item and the rule to keep it must be greater than 0.5 in order to get a higher correlation value between the items. Since the extraction value for CSB1, CSB3, and PF4 is less than 0.5, it can be suggested that this thing can be removed. This rotated component matrix is almost as the same as the discriminant validity that has been done before to make sure that each item does not overlap based on the pattern matrix, which is the result. Also, it tries to make sure that all things are in one factor and don't go into more than one factor. Since there were 261 people who filled out the survey for the study, the factor loading would be set to 0.35 to 0.45. Based on the thing in the output, the name of the component can be given to a certain factor. Multiple regression analysis was used to predict the influence of compulsive online shopping behavior, customer spending behavior, and psychological factors toward financial vulnerability. Based on the model report, the degree of correlation or R for the test was 0.607, which shows a high level of correlation. and R square was 0.368, which shows the total variation in the dependent variable. In other words, the values of compulsive online shopping behavior, customer spending behavior, and psychological factors can be used to predict a value of 0.368, which is 36% of the variation in how people feel about. Multiple linear regression was used to test if compulsive online shopping behavior, customer spending behavior, and psychological factors toward financial vulnerability. The fitted regression model was financial vulnerability equals to 2.2695 minus 0 CSB plus 0 PF plus 0.81 COSB. The overall regression was statistically significant. R squared equals to 0.368, F 3.257 equals to 49.96, P equals to is greater than 0.000. Therefore, it was found that CSB significantly supporting consumer spending pattern and its implication on financial viability. PF significantly supporting consumer spending patterns and its implication on FV. COSB is insignificantly supporting consumer spending patterns and implication on FV. The table shows that all of the correlation between the variables are significant at the 5% level of significance. This means that there is statistically significant relationship between the variables and that the correlation coefficients are unlikely to have occurred by chance. If the P is lower than 0.000, the test is significant. The table also shows that financial vulnerability is positively correlated with compulsive online shopping behavior, customer spending behavior, and psychological factors. This means that FV increases, COSB, CSB, and PF also increase. Specifically, the strongest positive correlation is 0.537 was found between FV and CSB. The next strongest correlation is between PF 0.519 and COSB is 0.337 respectively.
Okay, next we go to the discussion of findings. First is consumer spending behavior. Since the multiple linear regression, p value for CSP is below 0.05, which is 0.00, as a result, the null hypothesis is rejected. Next is psychological factors. The result from MLR suggests that PF is positively influenced the relationship between great management of psychological factors and consumer spending patterns since the p-value 0.00 was less than 0.05. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. Next is, and the last one is compulsive online shopping behavior. Since the multiple linear regression, p-value for COSB is far above 0.05, which is 0.81. As a result, the null hypothesis is definitely accepted. This suggests that there is no relationship between greater emphasis on online shopping behavior and consumer spending patterns. Okay, next we go to the recommendation. First recommendation is encourage financial literacy. Improve financial literacy program to provide consumer with the knowledge and skill they need to make sure financial decision. This program should concentrate on topics such as budgeting, debt management, and consumer rights. Individuals can establish healthier purchasing habits, prevent excessive debt, and protect themselves from financial vulnerability by receiving financial education. Next recommendation is increase consumer protection measures. Implement stringent consumer protection measures to protect consumer from unscrupulous practice and unfair financial goods. This include tougher penalties for fraudulent marketing practice, more clear disclosure of terms and fees, and interest rate limitation on high-cost loan. Vulnerable customer can be protected from exploitative practices and preserve more financial stability by strengthening customer protection regulation.